All right, welcome to the A-List Spotlight feature brought to you by the Schnabel Lending Team and A-Plus Mortgage. I'm Aaron Zieg with Cody Stratman, and today we're really excited to bring two very outstanding guests, Jennifer Zoeller and Michelle Vogds.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, thank you for joining. So, as we get started here today, I know a lot about you. Many of our viewers don't know enough about you. Tell us your story. You both have a unique story kind of coming into real estate, very heavy marketing and sales and customer service background in a variety of different ways. Share the story with us.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people, COVID made everyone kind of take a new look at their life as far as, okay, what do I really want to do? What makes sense for me? So that was a lot of what happened and then I had my first child a year ago, exactly almost. So between, now starting a growing family and then with like COVID, it was like, okay, what's like the next step in my career? I was working at the Brewers in sales, which I loved. It was, great culture. I enjoy sales. But like I said, like with COVID and then having a family and just having something with a little bit more flexibility, like real estate came to mind. I'd thought about it before, but it just wasn't the right timing. So I started thinking about real estate. Kind of brought that to the attention of my mom. She said, I think you'd be great at it. And then I kind of turned around and was like, well, so would you. Why don't you do it with me? Because we have similar personalities, but we also have a lot of different strengths. I have more of like the sales and customer service background. She's marketing guru, accountant. So we just thought that would make a really good fit. So we started in January, and one of my coworkers at the Brewers got wind that I was looking at getting into real estate. Actually, two of my boss at the Brewers and my coworker both recommended Julie and Mike Lesla of JML Realty Group to connect with them. And as soon as we met with them, we're like, oh my God, these are such great people. Their morals, their values, everything aligns perfectly with ours. And then we are more focusing on the Cedarburg-Mequon area, which is an area that their team hasn't quite hit. So it just like made perfect sense. So yeah, we're kind of a team within a team. We work together, but we're also, like I said, on the JML Realty Group, and we just couldn't be more excited. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
So just to expound a little on the conversation that we had, like when she calls, your typical mom, like, and I wouldn't say if I didn't mean like, oh my gosh, Michelle, that is so perfect for you. Like you should 100% do it. And like the conversation didn't right away flow to like, you should do it with me. It was like 4 hours later. She's like, hey, you should do that with me. I'm like, I didn't see the conversation going like that. But, it was kind of like all the things that, like starting as an older agent, but I feel like everything I did up until that time, I'm actually like in past life a CPA, and then, marketing, and I've done a lot of volunteering that ended up being like raising funds and that. I just felt like everything kind of led to doing that. So I said, sure, let's do it. And so, I think like one point she made is so important. Like we have overlapping skills, but a lot of them are complementary. Like, as far as sales being different than marketing, and I think we really enhance each other that way. So that's how we got here.
The dynamic seems perfect.
Yeah, like any mother-daughter, I'm sure there's times where we're like, all right, like you're getting on my nerves, like we need a...
Sure.
But
I feel like that goes more one way. Somebody's getting on somebody else's nerves.
Yeah, but for the most part, we're very lucky, and I think it's been really nice when we've been working with our clients. It's kind of two for the price of one. Like we're both in each transaction, whether sometimes one's maybe a little bit more behind the scenes doing stuff, but we're both working for people, whether people realize that or not. And it's just, like I said, you're getting two hands on deck all the time, which I think brings such value.
Well, you're around the clock. I see it. You have a huge social media presence already. You're doing things to bring the community to your clients in a variety of interesting ways. There's a lot of exciting things, and that's a huge reason why you're here with the A-listers today.
So, there's obviously a unique factor of being the mother-daughter team, but what would you, can you tell us a little bit about what's like the biggest unique part about your specific situation or team?
I think for anyone going into like, people that want to work with families, like you really have to think about it, because it can either kind of break your relationship or make it stronger. And I think you have to really set the precedent ahead of time of what's most important to you. And at the end of the day, I think that's our relationship as like a mother-daughter. So I think you really have to know going into it that you're not going to let like business frustrate you, because like you see that all the time, where it's like people go into business together as family and it ends up just going horribly and affecting the relationship. And so I think you really have to set that, you know, up front, that like you're not going to let that, you know, ruin your relationship as family members. But I don't know, what do you think the most unique?
Well, I think the thing that makes us a unique team are actually the skills that, or the things that we bring similarly. Like I think we're very, what's the right word? Maybe we're really pour all into people. Like, you know, our goal is really to get to know people and to understand them and to make them our family. And that's not one or other, that's both how we both live our life and how we work with our clients and our friends, is bringing people in and making them part of our family. And I think that's really kind of how we stand out, is the compassion and energy that we bring to a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just all about relationships, and I think, yeah, people just knowing that like we are truly going to take care of, like, anybody that chooses to work with us, it's like, you know, a true honor that someone would trust us to that level with one of their biggest, you know, life purchases. And like anyone that does trust us with something that big, like we're truly going to do everything we can to care for them throughout the process.
Well, you're going to go the extra mile. I'm saying that because I've seen it already. So with that, it's obviously an insane real estate market right now in a variety of different ways. What are some words of advice you would give to a new client in this market today?
Be patient and use an agent. Honestly, I think a lot of people think that they can probably, that this would be a good time to not have an agent, both on the buying and selling end, because they're like, oh, why do I need one? Like, I'm gonna either get offers or, like, I mean, especially for buyers. I mean, I think it's no surprise to anybody that it's tough, and to get an accepted offer is tough, and you really have to get creative. It's not even always the highest offer that's gonna win out. Like, you really have to find ways to get creative and stand out and compete in this market. So having an agent, one, is so important, but like, you know, just being patient and knowing like, hey, every accepted offer that we didn't get, you know, just means that we are getting one step closer to getting your home for you. And, you know, some of my clients that didn't maybe get the initial houses that we put offers on are like, I'm so glad those didn't work out. You know, you hear that more often than not. I think that people are like, I'm so grateful that the ones that we put offers on didn't work out. So it's like really just being patient. I know everybody's situations are different, where they don't have the luxury to be patient, and they have to, you know, get out of, find a house sooner than later. But it's like, worry about the things that you have to, but otherwise let us do the worrying for you and really handle, you know, the nitty gritty stuff.
And I think from a buyer standpoint, it's really important that you know your must-haves. And when you see your must-haves in a house, that you go all in with your best offer. And, you know, so if you know, like, I really need 4 bedrooms and I need 2 baths and I want a half an acre, when you see that house, you have to be prepared to give your best offer. If, you know, if that's, you know, whatever above or cash or whatever, but I think it's important to know your must-haves so you can really pour all in. From a seller standpoint, like, I think some people might think, oh, do I need an agent right now? I really would say to a seller that it's maybe even more important, because it's so much coming in so fast, and how do you go through and judge this offer versus that offer? And, you know, there's just so much going on so quickly that it's important to have an experienced agent that can, you know, manage that for you.
I'm gonna guess that, you know, as an agent as well, it's gonna be more advantageous to go with the one that has an agent due to the many steps that go along with the transaction.
I think that's such a good point.
Mm-hmm.
An agent's going to want to work with somebody on the other side, as opposed to a person who doesn't exactly know, hasn't been
Especially
through
because
the
then you end up ultimately kind of being the agent on the other side anyway. So it's like, yeah, if you're dealing with a for sale by owner, you're kind of having to help manage the seller as well, without being able to negotiate for them, because your buyer is your priority. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's in this market, when people see for sale by owners, I think buyers get really excited, because they know that they're not getting what they could if they had an agent, and they're a little bit easier to, you know, negotiate with, because they don't know everything that they can get and that they can do. So
Well, I hope that don't answer our next question, but
yeah.
The next question is going to be, you know, what is one of the biggest misperceptions that people have of the realtor or the real estate, you know, transaction?
I think people just kind of don't know all that real estate agents do behind the scene. I think they're just kind of like, am I hiring you to fill out my paperwork and kind of just send this over? And it's, you know, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, you know, between searching for houses, doing comparative market analysis, seeing what houses are going for, you know, if we are having buyers that are struggling finding homes. I mean, we're sending out letters to expired houses saying like, hey, we might have a buyer, do you want to put it back on the market? Social media, connecting with other agents. And then when you do get an accepted offer, all of the managing that goes into dealing with like lenders, the title companies, managing the inspection, appraisals. I mean, it's a lot of work. And I think, I don't think, it's the whole philosophy of like the duck, like looking calm on the surface, and then your legs are paddling underneath. It's like, yeah, we don't want you guys to see all the work that goes into it. It's your job to relax, but there is a lot going on behind the scenes, which I'm sure you guys can attest to as well on the lending side. It's,
we certainly can. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It's, you want it to seem smooth and make sure everything's going good, but, then they take that as, I think sometimes like, what are you doing? It's like, you don't need to know everything that's going on. Sometimes it's good, but yeah.
So with that, what's one bad recommendation that stands out that you're seeing given to people in the real estate industry today?
So I think maybe one that it's everyone should be selling their house, because of course it is a seller's market, but that doesn't mean everyone it's the right time to sell. Like, you have to look at your own situation. Why would you sell right now? You still have to make the considerations. Like, I would say bad advice to me, just jumping into the market because it's a good seller's market. You still have to be thoughtful. Like, do I have to buy in this market then too? Like, I might sell my house, but do I have to buy in this market? Or am I selling because this is too big and I want to downsize? Be thoughtful about the decisions you're still making, and don't just jump in because, oh my gosh, it's a seller's market, let's go.
I think if you guys are talking more just in the mortgage, on the mortgage field end, then
mortgage or real estate, it can be either side.
the
Yep.
mortgage end, it's like that just getting the best rate matters.
Sure.
Your lender matters. I mean, yes, obviously everybody wants a great rate, but I don't think getting the lowest interest rate is a be all end all, because it's like ultimately the end goal is getting to closing and
Getting in the house.
Getting the clear to close, which, I think a lot of,
It's a big word in the industry, clear to close.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's what I think. I think, bad recommendation is that's just the bottom line, be all end all, lowest rate. I'm like, let's get a good lender too, and like make sure that like we, get things done.
Right, I like how you said, it's very easy to look at the one thing and then forget about the things around it. And it is very appealing right now to say, hey, my house is probably worth $40,000 more than I thought, but what's going to happen once that goes through?
Right.
Well, and you're a team within a team. You touched on that already. But what I heard you just say is, then there's other teams within your team working around you.
Mm-hmm.
Having the right teams is going to make everything go smoother. And fortunately, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have a lower rate, you can have lower closing costs, and have the right team working with you through that process as well, which is awesome.
Yep.
Well, there's that thought of like, you are the product of the 5 people. I know you know it.
Oh, of course.
But I think that's also like for agents and brokers, you're a product of the team that you assembled to work with you. And I think that kind of ties into that. It's so important. Like, you can kind of judge an agent by who they decide to work with. Like, who are their, the people that are going to be doing the mortgage or their title. And I think that people don't realize that. If you're asking like what people don't realize, they don't realize at all. And I think it's something that people should really think about. Like, who are you working with?
Absolutely.
So switching gears a little bit, let's go into more of your own personal, or it could be professional, but what in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life or the profession now that you're in?
I think a lot of it, a few things. I mean, I think it's consistently and doing the small things every day will make a big difference in the end. So, if it's changing one habit and just doing that consistently, even when you're not seeing results, which, is directly applicable to this, because when you're not seeing results right away, it can be frustrating, but like just doing the little things and not being afraid to do things that people won't, and find ways to stand out. I think sometimes, standing out and doing things differently can be scary, but it can be so rewarding at the same time. And like, I've recently been big then into like manifestation, like really like goal, this visualization. And so this year I even made a manifestation board of like, okay, what am I accomplishing this year? I'm like, yes, I'm sure I'll fall short on some, but like looking at that every day and having that constant reminder of like, in my personal life, like what do I want professionally? My relationship with God, things like writing that all down and seeing that every day. I mean, I think I've been like just huge, because if you're looking at like, I got this board or having this in your mind, I think it's hard not to, rise up to it.
And I think as an older person, the older person in the room too, I think that it's a couple things that it's important not to coast. Like when you get past 50 or 55, it just to think like, oh, okay, I'm good. Did all the big things, like to always be striving, you know, for every day that you're here, keep striving. And I think one of the biggest things that over the last 5 years is that I just try to continue to learn every single day. And that kind of, I mean, I guess that brought me to here, like just a different path of learning. You know, if something's presented to you to learn, take that opportunity and do it. Because like one of the things that ended up me working with Michelle is I like got into like chatbots and Messenger and all that stuff. And I just dived into learning, and who would think it'd get you to real estate? But when I was doing that, I did a lot of it in real estate. So I would just encourage people, especially people my age, keep learning and keep expecting something different for your life to grow.
Very cool. Be comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
I
Like a
love it.
podcast.
Yeah, I know.
So on that note, I feel like we learn a ton from our successes, but to your point, I feel like we learn even more from the challenges and failures, if we want to call it that, and stumbling blocks along the way. Is there a favorite failure or a favorite moment that you look back on where in the moment it felt really uncomfortable, it felt like, you know, I didn't get to where I wanted to, but then afterwards you learned so much and it's propelled you forward to a whole new level?
You go ahead. You started thinking for a second.
Well, so I would just say that like my life was just disrupted when I got like a divorce after 25 years. And like for a while I felt like, oh, I'm on this total different path than everyone else. And it was kind of ties into the last question too, we just keep moving forward. And now I just look at it as like it presented with me opportunities to do this. Like if my life was just static at that time, you know, I for sure wouldn't be doing this with Michelle. And I think it's such a great opportunity, and I kind of help another daughter on the side too with the business. And so I think when you look at something, even like major life events that you know, you don't know it at the time, but you look down and you're like, great things are gonna grow out of that. And so that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know my like biggest challenge, but last year I like again going not just like COVID related, but like it definitely like rocked everything in my life because COVID, and then having Layla and having to face like my next career move and like possibly leaving the Brewers where I made so many lifelong friendships, and then I had like extensive like kidney stone surgery that like led to like a half lung collapse, and like it was just so I was like I was out of work for 2.5 weeks from that, and then we moved ourselves, and like we were we didn't have a house for 2.5 months. We were living with my mother-in-law, and then switching to this and trying to learn this while also then having like a 3-month-old. And I was just like, I was just like so beaten down last year. And then like, yeah, having Layla, I was like, didn't even know my identity. Cause like as a new mom, you're like, okay, I don't live life for me anymore. Like I live life for her. Like who is Michelle now? Sick kidney stone Michelle. Like who is this girl? I can't, like I've always been also a very active person. I'm just like a bedridden, like sicko. Like what is my life? So I feel like last year just like flipped it, and like getting through that year and like just going, and I've always been kind of like a go with the flow and taking things kind of how they like come. So I like I said, it kind of just was like the perfect storm that I think got to the point where I'm like, I have to make a change. Like this isn't working. And yeah, one of my big things, I was like, I want to spend that time, wanted to find something that could be home with my daughter, but I also wanted something that like kind of gave me unlimited possibilities, because I'm a very competitive and aggressive personality when it comes to like professionally
everything.
So I was like, well, real estate gives me that potential. I can still be a stay-at-home mom. I can put as much as I want into this and grow this to anything that I want it to be. And so that's kind of how we ended up here. But yeah, last year was a crazy year.
Like competing back at Iowa all over again, right?
Yep.
I think it's not always what happens to us, it's how we respond, and obviously we responded to a lot and came out that much stronger, so it's awesome.
And a lot of it was good stuff too, so not like, I mean, obviously having Layla and like buying a new house, and then ultimately this was great. So it's like, it was a lot of like really good, but it was like, what is happening?
That's such a good point though. I think we don't realize sometimes like good things are still challenging. Like they require energy, and I think we don't understand to give ourselves the space to like, okay, this is awesome, but it's still like a challenge.
Goes back to what I heard earlier, focusing on all those little things, the behaviors day in and day out, and the results do come. And every 10 or 20 year success, overnight success I should say, was really that 5, 10, 20 years in the making that we always see about.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some type of book, podcast, something that you guys watch or read that you can share with all of us, so that way we can go and take a look at some inspiring pieces that have gotten you here.
So I have 2 podcasts that I've been listening to, and they kind of tie in about being a better agent for me. Is Agent Rise by Neil Mathweg. He's a kind of a friend of mine, but because I work with him in the marketing world, but he also is really good at helping agents that are new agents, like step by step. So I listen to that podcast. And then another podcast for agents I've been listening to is Hyper Fast Agent, and that's like Dan and Carrie Shell team, and they're out east somewhere. But they're just really good at growing teams and just being really smart about contracts they write and stuff like that. And they have a really fun energy. So those are 2 podcasts that I really like listening to.
Yeah, and I'd say any of like the John Gordon books. I've read a few of them, but more just like, yeah, it can be professional, it can be personal. John Gordon, just he's awesome. He has a ton of, I'm trying to remember, he has one, no, of course I'm blanking on the names. I've read quite a few, but any of his books, they're awesome. They're just one of those books that like make you want to like run through a wall, like, all right, I'm ready to start my day. Like they just get you like, yeah, pumped up, and they're really quick, easy reads, which is nice because like I know sometimes I feel like I don't have time, but there's like very like simple, straightforward, but like really make you excited to like start your day. So yeah.
Do you read more, or do you do more Audible in that regard?
I've been really bad about both lately. Probably more Audible, like yeah, podcasts, which I think is great that you guys are doing this. I think, again, talk about ways of differentiating yourself. Probably a little bit more podcasts. I have a whole like list of books that I want to read right now that I just haven't, and I'm like, there are times in my day where I have an hour that I could read, but I just when I have an hour, I'm like, all right, wait, let's sleep. We're just gonna sit here.
I think that's one of the things that we touched on earlier. You know, you read it and you don't get that instant, you know, gratification, if you will, from it. But
yeah.
It's definitely, if you stay consistent, it will pay off. And I think you writing things down gives you the ability to go back and see, you know, the fruits of the labor, if you will, after so many weeks of not really seeing what it did, or just kind of going through life. So
yeah.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, but I definitely think, I mean, for newer agents, like I think the biggest thing, it's uncomfortable for so many, but I think getting on social media and making yourself visible, like that was just one thing. And that I think I attribute a ton of like our like early successes. I mean, we're still starting out and we're not nearly, we haven't even touched where we even want to be in our career at all. But like I think it's definitely helped us like being on social media, being visible. And that's more her. She's like I said, has a great marketing plan, but it's like, you know, when people see you, you know, constantly, it feels weird because it's like, it feels like you're like, almost like kind of break, like, oh, I'm doing this now I'm doing this, like this is what I'm doing. But, you know, people want to see that you're working and what you're doing, so that they feel confident if they're going to use you. Like ultimately that's what you want, right? You want people that are, you know, you want business, you want people to work with you, and they're going to work with you if they feel comfortable and they see what you're doing. So they constantly see, you know, I'm doing an open house today, like I'm going through our inspection. I think it's so important, but also throwing in your personality too, because that it gets boring after a while if you're just talking about real
That's
estate.
what I was gonna say. I think that ties into like your earlier question about what makes us stand out. And I think for anyone, you can really use social media to show however you stand out. And like, you know, and I think because it's like it's important you show your personality. Like as I would say, Michelle and our personality is really pretty up and all that energy, but then we're kind of funny.
Whoa.
Let me put that all
right there.
No, but maybe not funny, but like fun. That's the right word, fun. And so, that might not be the right for every person to work with. They might want somebody that's just really, you know, straightforward and like and I would say we're both of those. But you know, you want, I think, any agent, use social media to show however you stand out, and I think it's the best way for people to get to know what they're going to get from you. Because I think people, when you're looking at agents, everyone knows a lot of agents, they do. So you want the agent that matches you, that you feel like they're knowledgeable. And if you can be showing that on social media every day, they're just kind of absorbing, saying like, I get who they are.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're not going to be right for everybody, and that's okay. Like that's, you know, that's just how it is. You're not going to be the right fit for every single person. You know, and ultimately we want to draw on people that are comfortable with us, and that's a good fit for us too. But in social media too, may not be comfortable for everyone, and I'd argue that they at least try to put themselves out there, but at the same time, it's more just like finding your niche. Like what is your thing? Like you have to kind of find your thing. Is it cold calling? Is it door knocking? Is it, you know, it's it's different for everyone, and I think this is kind of our path, and so far it's
The one thing I think, like, I like to think about, like, buying brain cells. And so every day I think of, like, how does somebody know I'm an agent today? And so, like, social media is a really easy way. Like, we try getting into more of our email marketing or driving people to our website. But I think that as any new agent, like, how do they know you're an agent today? And I think it's a really easy way to buy a brain cell that day. Like, oh, put up a story or something like that.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you, but with those higher goals you mentioned that you haven't hit quite yet, my belief is, going back to your softball days in college, you could hit however many and break the record, 50 doubles in a season, and you're gonna go, okay, I've hit that. Now when am I gonna get to 55?
Right. Yeah, you're never gonna feel like it was like enough. But
I think that's what keeps us in the sport.
Right.
I mean, and you can call it a sport because there's victories every day in this industry. So.
Well, that's what I was like telling my husband yesterday, and another reason why I love real estate, because it's like most days you're not seeing immediate results, but I was like, we got an accepted offer for one of my really close friends who you're going to be helping on the lending side, so super excited. But we got an accepted offer, and I was like shaking. I was like, that was like the closest I felt in a long time, feeling like I won something for someone. It was like especially gratifying because it was like a friend that I'm really close with, so I'm really happy for her. But I told Tyler, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like so good to feel like you like won something, and like especially in this market, like that's like, it's like I feel like when you get an accepted offer, it's almost an even bigger high than it is probably getting an accepted offer, because it's just so much harder to do. So it's a good feeling.
All of your clients are gonna become kind of like those lifelong friends for you too. I already see that. With that, I think you've given our viewers a really, really good view of who you are, as far as the personality, the fun you're gonna bring to it, the competitive drive to do everything you can for them. Just the going above and beyond and working around the clock in a variety of different ways that you both balance each other out, from the Zoeller team, within the JML team, within Real Estate Executives, and having the right teams around you. We thank you both so much for joining us today and giving our viewers a chance to see a different side of you within why we view you as a high-end A-lister.
Yeah.
Yes, greatly appreciate your time. I know it's busy out there, so anytime we can get in front of a realtor, it's definitely appreciated.
Yeah, thank you guys, and we would 100% recommend you guys to
As Matt would actually said, if we have a choice, our clients are all using you guys, and that's honest.
Yeah, after going through a few, sometimes rocky closings, like we need to push it even more as we go to A+. So, and you are using them too, right? You're using them. So,
thank you for having us.
You learn more from those bumps in the road, like we talked about, than when it goes smoothly. So, well, thank you everybody again, and thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week.